For this lesson, we're going to take what we learned about numbers raised to exponents and exponents raised to exponents. We're going to put together, and we're going to take a monomial and raise it to an exponent. So in other words, you might have like 3x squared, and you're going to raise it to the third power. And really, it's as simple as taking that exponent and distributing it to each of those components of the monomial. Remember, monomial only has, at most, 3 components: a coefficient, variable, and an exponent. Now, before we do the first example, again, I like to explain why we do what we do. I think it helps the concept click. So we're going to have 3x to the fourth, and we're going to be raising it to the second power. Okay, and like you guys have already explained, when you square something, you're multiplying it by itself. And so I can rewrite this as 3x to the fourth times 3x to the fourth, right? And so basically what ends up happening is we multiply the 3's together, right? And then we multiply the x to the fourths together. Right. So what I kind of want you to notice, though, is all we actually did was we took the 2 and we distributed it to each of these. Okay, we square the 3 and then we square the x to the fourth. And that's the gist I want you to get. Right off the bat, you can take that exponent and just apply it to the coefficient and then apply it to the exponent. Okay, which is why we did those previous 2 lessons, so that you would know how to apply that. So once you distribute that, then you can just solve it out. 3 times 3 is 9. And again, be careful for this one because it's a base times a base. When you multiply like bases, you add the exponents. Again, I understand. I was in your shoes once in the same class. I know it's easy to confuse the 2 rules. If you put x to the 16th, I would understand why, because we just talked about exponent to an exponent. But again, they look different. This is a like base times a like base. An exponent to an exponent would be different. It would say x to the fourth to the fourth. That's when you multiply them. So again, the gist of this is make sure right off the bat for step 1, and you'll see in the next example, all you have to do is distribute the exponent. So that's going to lead us to, it's the same problem, but we're going to, right off the bat, just distribute the exponent for step 1. So remember when we multiplied polynomials, how you drew the arrows? It's going to work the same for the exponent. So the 2 is going to be applied to the 3, and it's going to be applied to the x to the fourth. So the way that's going to be written is you're going to have 3 with the exponent of 2, and then you're going to have the x to the fourth with an exponent of 2. You don't really need the parentheses as long as you understand it's to the fourth to the 2, but without it, it would kind of look like x to the 42. Step 2, we're going to simplify that. So that just means do whatever 3 squared is, which is 9, and then do whatever that is. And so, yeah, we're multiplying the exponents, so we still get the same answer as we got before, x to the 8th. It's only 2 steps for this lesson. Distribute the exponent and then simplify by working it out. I think we got 4 examples, but like I said, it's just 2 steps, so it won't take too long. So for this one, we have negative 4x to the 5th, all cubed. Again, the first thing we're going to do for each of these is just draw this out. Now here's the thing, the 3, or the cube, is being distributed to a negative 4, guys, okay? So it's going to look like this, okay? It's going to look like negative 4 being cubed, okay? So when you distribute to a negative, the whole negative is being cubed. Now we know that a negative times a negative times a negative is going to be negative anyways, but let's say that it was negative 4 squared. Then it would be definitely important to put those parentheses because you'd get positive 16. If you didn't put parentheses, you'd get negative 16, which would not be correct. Okay, and then we have x to the 5th cubed. So that's going to look like this. And then after we distribute, we can simplify. So, good. Yeah, I think this might have been on the worksheet yesterday. -4 cubed is -64. And then you just multiply these two exponents to give you x to the 15th. So final answer, -64x to the 15. I'm going to do two more. You can't see that. I got to make that smaller. Okay, now, -5x to the 5th, y to the 6th. Okay, we're not going to do more than 3 terms inside, or 3 variables, because it's really not useful. Or I mean, it's not that important. As long as you can do 2 variables, I think you're fine. We will do one with 3. But anyways, so now that we have 2 variables, or 2 exponents, we have to distribute the 2 to both of those, plus the -5, okay? So the way this is going to look is, we're going to take the -5 and apply the 2 to that, like so. Then we're going to take the x to the 5th and apply the 2 to that. Then we're going to take the y to the 6th and apply the 2 to that. So you're just applying a 2 to each of those terms. Okay, so what's -5 squared? Is it negative or positive? Very good. Yes, that is a positive 25. Okay, now we have x to the 5th squared. Very good. And then we have y to the 6th, good, squared, multiply the exponents, y to the 12. And that's going to be your answer. So you can start to see that once you distribute the exponent, it's more or less review, right? It's lessons we've already gone over. Okay, so we're going to do one more. So we have -2/3 z to the 5th x cubed y to the 7th. See if I can bring this down a little bit so we can distribute. So we're going to distribute the 4 to the -2/3. We're going to distribute to the z to the 5th. We're going to distribute it to the x cubed, and finally to the y to the 7th. So first we're going to have -2/3 to the 4th. Next we're going to have z to the 5th. That's going to be raised to the 4th. Then we're going to have x cubed. It's going to be raised to the 4th. And finally, y to the 7th will be raised to the 4th. Okay? So how would we do -2/3 to the 4th? Right, we know it's going to be positive because it's a negative to an even power, so we just have to do the top and bottom. So 2 to the 4th is, be careful,
Actually,
16, yes. So we'll have 16 on the top of that fraction. And then 3 to the 4th, 81, right? Those are 2 I think we did on the worksheet yesterday. Now we have z to the 5th to the 4th, z to the 20. Then we have x cubed to the 4th, which is what? X to the 12th. And then we have y to the 7th to the 4th, y to the 28. And it's that simple.